Have you ever just, stopped and wondered what's really going on? Like beyond your thoughts, your feelings, even your body. What are you really?
That's a huge question, isn't it? And it's exactly where we're headed today. We're going to dive into Vedanta.
Vedanta.
Yeah, it's this really ancient, very influential school of Indian philosophy. Think of it as a kind of map for understanding, well, existence itself, consciousness, reality,
Yeah.
the big stuff.
The big stuff. Right. So, like, the fundamental rules of the game, according to Vedanta, what are we hoping to get out of this exploration?
Well, we're mainly drawing from Vedanta for Beginners from the Divine Life Society. It's a really helpful text for breaking down these core ideas. Our aim is to, pull out the key insights and talk about them in a way that's clear
Okay.
and hopefully relevant to how we see ourselves and the world.
So, even if someone's totally new to this, they should be able to follow along, maybe even have a few aha moments.
That's absolutely the goal. Yeah.
Oh.
Some ideas might seem complex at first, but we'll try to explain them clearly, maybe use some analogies, and connect them back to things we can actually relate to. No need for deep Sanskrit knowledge here.
Excellent. Okay, let's start a dive then. Where's the best place to begin with Vedanta?
I think the natural starting point has to be Brahman.
Brahman.
In Vedanta, Brahman is basically the ultimate reality, the one single fundamental truth behind everything, sort of the source code, if you want a modern analogy.
It's the source code.
Yeah,
Interesting. So it's not something we can, point to, but it's the foundation.
exactly. The text described Brahman as eternal, no beginning, no end. It's self-existent, meaning it doesn't depend on anything else. Self-luminous, its nature is consciousness, and it's all-pervading, everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beyond our usual concepts of time, space, cause and effect. It's unchanging, birthless, deathless. Think of it as the steady background against which everything else happens.
An unchanging background. I like that image. So in all the change we see, there's this constant underlying reality. How else do they describe Brahman? It sounds so vast.
They do use some key terms. One really important one is Sat Chitananda.
Sat Chitananda.
Yeah, Sat means absolute existence, pure being. Chit is absolute consciousness or knowledge, and Ananda is absolute bliss. Not just, feeling happy for a bit, but a fundamental state of pure joy.
Existence, consciousness, bliss.
Right, so Vedanta suggests that those moments of real presence or deep understanding or just pure uncomplicated joy, those are actually little glimpses of our connection to Brahman.
Glimpses of that ultimate state. Okay. Does Brahman have, characteristics, a form?
Well, interestingly, it's also described as nirguna without attributes
Yeah.
and nirakara without form.
No attributes, no form.
Right, and another key phrase is ekam eva advityam, which means one without a second. It really emphasizes that Brahman is totally unique, indivisible. All the variety we see isn't really separate from this one underlying reality.
One without a second. That definitely challenges how we normally see things, doesn't it? A world full of separate stuff.
It really does. And the text also introduced Om, or Pranava,
Oh!
yes, as the symbol, the pratika, for Brahman. It's seen as the very essence of the ancient Vedas. You can think of Om as the sound symbol of that ultimate reality, holding everything within its vibration.
The sound, you hear it in meditation contexts, so it's more than just a sound. It's pointing towards this Brahman.
Exactly. It's considered the primordial sound, the source vibration. Okay, so we've got Brahman, this ultimate formless single reality. But, look around. Our experience is full of different things, constant change. How does Vedanta explain that?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How do we get from this formless one to all this?
This is where Maya comes in.
Maya, I've heard that word, often translated as illusion.
It often is, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe illusion isn't the perfect word. It's better understood as the power of Brahman, the power that projects the world we experience, with all its shapes and forms and names. It's Brahman's creative potency, you could say, that makes the relative world seem real.
Ah, okay. So not just a trick, but the actual creative force.
Exactly. The text describes Maya as trigonatmika, meaning it's made up of three fundamental qualities, or gunas.
The gunas.
Yeah. Tamas, which is like inertia, darkness, heaviness. Rajas, which is activity, passion, movement. And sattva, which is purity, harmony, clarity. These three are always mixing and interacting in different ways, shaping everything, our moods, the world, everything.
So tamas, rajas, sattva. These are the sort of energetic building blocks of everything we experience. They affect our minds, our bodies.
Absolutely. And when Maya operates at the individual level, it's called avidya.
Avidya.
Which basically means ignorance or maybe a fundamental lack of seeing things clearly. This avidya is what causes us to feel separate. That feeling of me versus you, me versus the world, it stems from avidya.
So my sense of being this distinct, separate person that's actually rooted in this misunderstanding, this avidya.
According to Vedanta, yes. There's a great analogy in the text. Ajnana, another word for ignorance, hides Brahman. Just like trees can hide a whole mountain from view.
Oh, I like that.
Or like clouds blocking the sun. You don't see the sun itself, just the clouds. Avidya is like that veil.
Focusing on the individual trees and missing the mountain behind them. Okay.
Exactly. And they even distinguish between tulajnana, that's ignorance about specific things out there, like not knowing physics or something, and mula ajnana.
Mula jnana.
Yeah, that's the root ignorance, the really deep one that covers up our true self, our connection to Brahman.
Okay, so one's about external facts. The other is about not knowing who we fundamentally are.
Correct. And here's a crucial idea. Vedanta says the world is superimposed. The term is acharopa, onto Brahman.
Superimposed.
Yeah, like projecting something onto a screen. The classic analogy is Raju Sarpanaya.
Raju, what now?
Raju Sarpanaya. It means mistaking a rope for a snake in dim light.
Ugh, the rope and the snake. Yes, I've heard of that. That's a powerful image. We see a snake where there's only a rope.
Precisely. The rope is Brahman, the underlying reality. The snake, the world of separate things we perceive, is the superimposition. It appears real because of the dim light, which is our avidya, our ignorance.
Wow. Okay.
The text adds that this superimposition, this mistaken perception, can be removed. The term is abhavadukti. It means through gaining true knowledge. When you turn on the light and see the rope clearly, the snake just disappears. The illusion vanishes.
So by gaining this deeper understanding, the snake of the separate world dissolves, and we see the rope of Brahman underneath it all.
That's the core principle, yes. Now, building on that, how does Vedanta actually explain the creation or projection of this world? If Brahman is one and undivided, how does all this variety pop up?
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that jump from the one to the many.
Well, the Vedantic view describes a kind of unfolding. It starts with Brahman, and then the 5 fundamental elements emerge in sequence.
5 elements, like earth, air, fire, water.
Exactly, but in a specific order of subtlety. First comes the kasa, space, or ether. Then vayu, air, or wind. Then agi, fire. Then apa, water. And finally, prithvi, earth. Each one is seen as emerging from the previous, becoming progressively denser and less pervasive.
Denser and less pervasive.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Think about it. Akasa, space, is everywhere.
Right.
Totally pervasive. Vayu, air, moves within space. It's a bit more defined. Agi, fire, is even more localized.
Yeah.
Apa, water, takes a shape. And prithvi, earth, is the most solid, the least spread out.
Okay, I see.
The text uses an analogy like the fragrance of jasmine filling a room. The scent is more subtle and pervasive than the actual flower, which is in one spot. Akasa is like that ultimate subtle background.
So it's a process moving from the most subtle and universal space down to the most concrete and specific earth.
Yes, exactly. And it's also described as cyclical. The universe moves from an unmanifest state, like a potential, they call it avyakta, into this manifest state we experience, and then eventually dissolves back into the unmanifest, like a cosmic inhale and exhale.
Right, this idea of cycles comes up a lot in these philosophies.
It does. And this whole process of manifestation and dissolution happens within Maya, powered by Brahman. But now let's bring it down to the individual level. Where do we fit in? What about the Jiva, the individual soul?
Okay, yeah. How does Vedanta see me in this grand cosmic picture?
So the Jiva, which is the individual living being, appears separate because of avidya, that individual layer of ignorance or maya we talked about. It's this feeling of separation that creates this sense of being an individual self with my thoughts, my feelings, my body.
So this strong sense of I, my individuality, it's fundamentally tied to not seeing the full picture, to avidya.
That's the Vedantic perspective, yes.
Yeah.
And to understand the Jiva better, they introduced the idea of 3 bodies. Shariras is the Sanskrit term.
3 bodies, not just the physical one.
Right. There's the Stula Sharira, that's the gross physical body. Then the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle or astral body. And finally, the Karana Sharira, the causal body.
Okay, 3 bodies. Let's break those down. Stula Sharira, the physical one.
That's one we know best. Made of the 5 elements, sustained by food. Contains the 7 basic tissues, blood, flesh, bone, etc., the saptadhatus. The text even points out why it's called sarira, because it decays, and deha, because it gets burnt, after death.
Pretty direct about the impermanence of it all. Okay, what about the subtle body, the sukshma sharira?
This is more internal. It's said to be made of 19 principles. It's quite a list.
19, wow.
Yeah, you've got the 5 jnana indriyas, the senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. The 5 karma indriyas, the organs of action, hands, feet, speech, excretion, reproduction. Then the 5 pranas, the vital life forces governing breathing, circulation, and so on.
Okay, that's 15.
Right. The manas, the mind, processing sensory stuff, thoughts, buddhi, the intellect, reason, discrimination, chitta, the subconscious, memory storehouse, and ahankara, the ego, the I maker.
Manas, buddhi, citta, ahamkara, that's 19. So the subtle body is basically our entire mental and vital energy system.
Pretty much, yeah. It's considered the vehicle for experiencing pleasure and pain. And Vedanta says this subtle body is what carries on after the physical body dies, until you attain final liberation, which they call videha mukti.
So it's like the software that keeps running after the hardware dies, carrying our patterns and tendencies, until we're fully free. What's the third one? The causal body.
The Karana Sharira. This one's described as the deepest level. It's called the seed body. It's essentially beginningless ignorance, the unmanifest potential or cause from which the other 2 bodies spring. Think of it like deep, dreamless sleep. The physical and subtle bodies aren't active, but the potential for them to wake up is still there. That potential is the causal body.
Okay, so causal is the deepest seed, giving rise to the subtle mental energetic layer, which then manifests as the gross physical body, like layers of an onion.
That's a good way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And speaking of layers, Vedanta also talks about 5 sheaths, or koshas, that cover the Atman, our true self.
5 sheaths now. On top of the 3 bodies. Okay, this is getting layered.
It is, but they offer another way to understand how we mistake ourselves. These koshas are like nested coverings. There's the Annamaya kosha, the food sheath, basically the physical body. Then Pranamaya kosha, the vital energy sheath, the pranas. Manamaya kosha, the mind sheath, including manas and the senses. Vijnanamaya kosha, the intellectual sheath, buddhi and ahamkara. And finally, Anandamaya kosha, the bliss sheath.
Bliss sheath.
Yeah, it's the subtle joy experienced in deep sleep or moments of pure, selfless happiness. But even that is still a covering, not the Atman itself.
So each sheath is a layer, from the most physical outwards to the most subtle bliss sheath inwards, but still covering the true self, the Atman.
Precisely. And the key problem, Vedanta says, is anyonya atyasa.
Anyonya, what was that?
Atyasa means mutual superimposition. We mistakenly identify the Atman, the true self, with the characteristics of these sheaths. You say, I am hungry, that's the food sheath, or I am thinking, mind sheath, or even I am happy related to the bliss sheath. But the Atman itself is beyond all that, just pure awareness.
Ah, so it's like thinking the spacesuit is the astronaut, mistaking the covering for the reality inside.
That's a perfect analogy, yes. And they also link these koshas to the 3 states of consciousness we experience. Jograt, waking, svapna, dreaming, and sushupti, deep sleep. Different koshas are more prominent in each state.
Okay, this detailed map of the individual, the bodies, the sheaths, the states, it seems designed to help us peel back the layers to see what we are not, so we can eventually realize what we are.
You've got it. That's exactly the point, which leads us directly to the ultimate goal in Vedanta. Liberation, moksha.
Moksha, liberation. What does that actually mean in Vedanta? What are we liberated from and to?
Moksha is defined in 2 ways, really. First, sarvadukha nivritti, the complete end of all suffering, total cessation of pain.
Okay, sounds good.
And second, paramananda prapti, the attainment of the supreme unending bliss of Brahman. So it's freedom from the cycle of birth and death, freedom from the limits of the ego, freedom from mistaking ourselves for these bodies and sheaths. And it's liberation to realizing our true nature as one with that ultimate existence consciousness bliss.
So not just escaping suffering, but realizing this state of inherent, profound freedom and joy by knowing who we truly are.
Yes, exactly. The key, according to the text, is Brahmajnana.
Brahmajnana.
Knowledge of Brahman. Not just intellectual book learning, but direct experiential realization. This Brahmajnana is what destroys avidya, the root ignorance, and all its effects. Fear, limitation, suffering. It leads to fearlessness, freedom. They even talk about 2 kinds. Jiva, someone liberated while still alive in the body.
Liberated while living.
Yes. And Vidamukha, liberation that happens when the body drops. Disembodied liberation.
Wow. So liberation is possible even now in this life. How? How do you actually get there? What's the path? This must be sadhana, the practice.
Exactly. Sadhana is the spiritual practice or path. The texts stress that the Atman, the self, is realized through 2 main things. Renunciation, meaning detachment from the unreal, the temporary.
Letting go of attachments.
Yes. And discrimination, the ability to clearly distinguish the eternal reality, Brahman, from the non-eternal world and our temporary experiences. It involves breaking the cycle of vasana, karma, and bhoga.
Vasana, karma, bhoga. What's that cycle?
Vasana is subtle desire or tendency. That leads to karma, action trying to fulfill the desire,
Yeah.
which leads to bhoga, experiencing the result, pleasure or pain, which reinforces the vasana, the desire, and round we go, stuck in samsara, the cycle of birth and death.
Ah, the hamster wheel.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So sadhana involves consciously reducing attachment to the bhoga, the results, and working to understand and dissolve the underlying the desires through cultivating brahmajnana, that wisdom of the self.
So it's about breaking that chain reaction by understanding its root in desire and ignorance.
Precisely. Key practices mentioned are vichara, self-inquiry, constantly asking, who am I? Vairagya, dispassion, cultivating indifference towards worldly results, and consistent meditation on the Atman.
Inquiry, dispassion, meditation.
Okay, and there are also the 4 essential qualifications, sometimes called satana chatushtaya.
4 qualifications.
Yeah, considered essential groundwork. First is viveka, that discrimination between the real and unreal we mentioned. Second, vairagya, dispassion again, really crucial. Third is shad sampat, the 6 virtues.
6 virtues.
Yes. Shama, calmness of mind. Dhamma, control of the senses. Uparati, turning away from distractions. Titiksha, forbearance. Enduring difficulties patiently. Shraddha, faith in the teachings and the teacher.
Yeah.
And samadhana, deep concentration or one-pointedness of mind.
Wow, that's a demanding list. Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samatana.
It is. And the 4th qualification is mumukshutva, an intense, burning desire for liberation itself, like really wanting it above all else.
Viveka, Vairagya, the 6 virtues, and Mumukshutva. Okay. These feel like the bedrock for serious spiritual work in many traditions.
They really are. The text also mentions upasana, or worship. This helps develop concentration and purifies the mind. It could be pratika upasana using a symbol, like an image or om.
Symbolic worship.
Right. Or ahamgraha upasana, which is meditation focused directly on the identity of oneself with Brahman.
Meditating on I am Brahman. That seems very direct.
It's central to the path of knowledge, jnana yoga. And this leads us to the Mahavakyas, the great sayings from the scriptures.
Yeah.
Especially one, Tat Tvam Asi.
Tat Tvam Asi. I've definitely heard that one. It means that thou art.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. That thou art.
Mhm.
This is considered a core pointer to the non-dual truth. It directly states the identity between that tat, referring to Brahman, the ultimate reality,
Okay.
and Dal Kivam, referring to you, the individual self, the Atman. Asi means art or are. So that reality you are.
So it's saying my essential nature is that ultimate reality, despite all the apparent differences.
That's the profound message. The text explains that the consciousness reflected through the cosmic Maya, associated with that, the Lord, and the consciousness reflected through individual Avya, Tao, the individual, are at their core the same underlying pure consciousness, Asi. The apparent differences are due to the reflecting medium, not the consciousness itself.
Mind-blowing, really. So how does one work with this statement?
Through a process involving sravana, hearing the teaching from a qualified teacher. Manana, deep reflection, questioning, analyzing it logically until doubts are removed. And adidhyasana, sustained, profound meditation on this truth, absorbing it fully.
Hearing, reflecting, meditating, sravana, manana, nididhyasana.
Exactly. And they also have a method called bhagachaga lakshana for understanding Tat Tvam Asi. It basically means you mentally discard the contradictory aspects of that, like being all-powerful, cosmic, and thou being limited, individual, and grasp the common essence, the pure consciousness that both terms point to.
So focusing on the underlying shared reality, not the superficial differences. It sounds like a very precise intellectual and meditative process.
It is. And the texts always emphasize the importance of a guru here. A qualified teacher.
A guru.
Yes. Someone who is a Brahma Sarotri, deeply learned in the scriptures, and a Brahmanishta, firmly established in the actual experience of Brahman. Such a guide is seen as invaluable on this path.
Someone who not only knows the map, but has actually traveled the territory. Makes sense.
And to help make these very abstract ideas more concrete, Vedanta uses a lot of practical illustrations, or nayas.
Ah, the analogies again. Yes, those are really helpful. You mentioned the rope and the snake earlier.
Exactly, Rajasarpanyaya. That illustrates the unreality of the world superimposed on Brahman. Then there's Mrigatrishna, the mirage.
The mirage in the desert.
Yeah. It looks like water, promises satisfaction, but it's illusory. It points to how worldly pleasures seem appealing but don't offer lasting fulfillment. Another one is Kanaka Kundala Nyaya, the gold ornament.
Gold ornaments.
Right. You can have earrings, necklaces, bracelets, different names, different forms, but they're all fundamentally gold. Similarly, all the diverse things in the universe are, in essence, just Brahman.
Okay, different forms, same substance. That's clear. Any others?
Sure. Sphatikavarnanyaya, the crystal, and the color. A clear crystal placed near a red flower looks red, right?
Uh-huh.
But the crystal itself hasn't changed. It illustrates how the pure Atman appears colored or limited by the mind and body, the upadis they call them, but remains intrinsically pure. Then there's Ghatakasanyaya, the space in the pot.
Space in a pot.
Yeah, the space inside a pot seems separate, defined by the pot. But is it really different from the vast space outside the pot?
No, it's the same space.
Exactly. It shows the individual Atman is one with the universal Paramatman. And one more, Surya Bimbanyaya, the sun in its reflections.
Sun's reflection.
Imagine one sun reflected in many different pots of water or puddles. You see many suns, but there's only one real sun. It illustrates how the one Brahman appears as many different jivas, individual souls, reflected in different mind-body complexes.
These analogies are fantastic, actually. They really do help visualize these very subtle ideas.
They're meant to. They help fix the mind on the reality by looking at it from different angles. However, the source text also offers a slight cautionary note about what it calls pseudo-Vedantic students.
Pseudo-Vedantic, what's that about? Like people faking it?
Sort of. It refers to people who might grasp Vedanta intellectually, quote the texts, engage in debates, but lack the inner transformation. They might lack purity, humility, genuine devotion, or that deep yearning for liberation, mumukshitva. They might even become proud of their knowledge. It's a reminder that Vedanta isn't just philosophy, it's a path of deep personal change.
So knowing about it isn't the same as living it or realizing it. It's about embodying the understanding.
Exactly. And finally, the text talks about overcoming obstacles on this path. A major one is ragadvesha,
Ragadvesha.
attachment raga, and aversion dvesha, likes and dislikes. These arise directly from avidya, from seeing things as separate and thinking some things will bring happiness and others pain.
Our desires and fears, basically.
Yes. Vedanta suggests the way to overcome these is to cultivate cosmic love, Brahma-bhavana, actively seeing and feeling the presence of Brahman in everyone and everything. When you see the underlying unity, attachment and aversion naturally start to weaken. Getting rid of ragadvesha is pretty much the same as getting rid of ignorance and the false view of the world.
See the one in the many, and the push and pull of likes and dislikes fades away.
That's the idea. The text also briefly mentions other hurdles like mental tossing, sleepiness during meditation, feeling like realization is impossible, and also three knots, the knots of ignorance, vidya, desire, kama, and action, karma, that need to be untied through practice.
It really seems like Vedanta provides not just the nature of reality, but also the how, the path, and the potential pitfalls. A complete system.
It truly aims to be. So just to sort of wrap up our deep dive here, we've touched on Brahman as the ultimate reality, that's Satchit Ananda. We looked at Maya and avidya, the power and the ignorance that create the appearance of separation. We explored the Jiva, the individual, through the 3 bodies and 5 sheaths covering the Atman. We saw moksha, liberation, as the goal, the end of suffering and attainment of bliss through Brahmajnana, the knowledge of Brahman. And we discussed the path, sadhana, emphasizing discrimination, renunciation, the 6 virtues, the Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi, and the role of the guru, plus those helpful analogies, the nayas.
That's a huge amount we've covered. It really gives a framework for looking at, well, everything differently.
It offers a profound perspective for sure. So maybe a takeaway thought for everyone listening, now that we've explored these ideas, what does yourself mean to you now? Has anything shifted? And how might seeing the fundamental interconnectedness of everything, this Vedantic view, actually change how you engage with the world day to day?
Those are definitely questions to sit with. It feels less like an end and more like a beginning of exploring this. Thank you so much for walking us through all of that.
My pleasure. It's a vast and rewarding subject to explore.